So hello everyone and welcome to Season 21, Round number 10 at Algarve. Now, officially, after 11 years, this is my final ever league race. I have participated in over 900 and something, probably close to 1,000, I don't know exactly how many, races in this league. I've participated in Grip, Ballistic NG, Pacer, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Assetto Corsa, R Factor 1 and 2, F1 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016 and 2017, and Grid Autosport for a number of years. There have also been some other games such as Dirt Rally that I've participated in, maybe as a one-off, but it's been 11 years of my life. I started right out of university basically. When I just started university, I bought F1 2012. I think it was January 2013 or something. The F1 games usually released in June, and I thought to myself, well, I love Formula 1. I used to play all the PS2 F1 games. I may as well try F1 2012. Bought it, and well, the guy in charge of the league was not exactly the most reliable of people. He told me to practice Japan. I then loaded into the lobby for the league race to find out that it was Singapore. So not only was I inexperienced, I was then going around a circuit that I hadn't practiced for, because I only had about 4 days before the actual league race started. And yeah, turned out I'd never actually driven the circuit at all. And at the time, Singapore hadn't been on the calendar all that long, so I was still a bit new to the layout as well. All I really remember of that race was trotting around at the back, doing absolutely nothing. I beat my teammate, which is something I guess, and proceeded to put on the wet weather tyres 2 laps before the end, to which I somehow managed to clamber over the lengths everybody pitted for intermediate tyres and started sliding off, to which I ended up taking 10th. I actually got a point, despite the fact that I was 5 seconds a lap slower. So, tortoise wins the race. But after that, I essentially just bit the bug, really. I fell in love with league racing entirely, and it really took up a lot of my life, like practicing and getting the setup correct and, you know, just making sure to nail a lap. But I would say Season 2 on F1 2013 of Nebula was probably the best season of racing that I've ever had. Not just in terms of my own personal position and all that. I was not very good. I think my highest position in a race was 6th. You know, otherwise I was sort of hovering around the 8th, 9th, 10th area, sometimes out the points, depending on the race. So, to come into F1 2013 the way I did, it was very hard to get used to. But Season 2 was just, there was something about it, and I think everybody kind of has that similar feeling as well about how it was. Like, you had sort of the front runners of Iceman, Disperse, Gluteus, Dalton, Chasma, Mac, etc. Then you had sort of the midfielders, you know, myself, Casimir, Underwover, Mosca, that kind of crew. And then you had the back markers to the lower point scorers, which I guess could also include me as well. But there was just, no matter where you were, there was always a fight. There was always someone scrapping. Like, I still remember watching, I think it was China, where Riggy and Crusaders PL, both in a Red Bull, were scrapping over 15th and 16th like their life depended on it. They were going absolutely hell for leather at each other, and it was just over 15th. And it was like, it was just that kind of thing. That's what the league promoted most of all, was just this sense of, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how good you are, you can still turn up and have a fight. And I think that's ultimately what a lot of leagues at the time kind of didn't have. AOR, or ARL as it was back then, was just very much for the best players. I mean, don't get me wrong, they could absolutely trash us in a race. They were so much better. But the pace difference between the drivers was quite extreme. Whereas in Nebula, it was like, don't get me wrong, the pace between 1st and 16th was huge. But there was still people in between to have a fight with, if that makes sense. It was like, you know, 1st to 5th was massive. There was always a scrap going on for it. And then 6th through 9th, you would have another fight. And then it would just go on and on like that for ages. And ultimately with Nebula, when it kind of reached F1 2016 and the games were dire, to say the least. They were absolutely crap, the new F1 games were. But it just sort of to die off on its own. I also, around 2016, got into Battlefield 1. My passion for league racing started to die off. And I'd say the last league race I ever did, at least on Grid Autosport, because that's the one that I've driven the most of, would probably be around season 14. I never really tried past then, and I don't mean that as look at me, I'm incredible. I don't practice and I still win races and what have you. I think mostly when it's Category C, I've driven them for so long, it's nothing to do with really practice. It's mostly just I'm used to the cars because they're not that hard to handle. There is obviously a slight skill gap in them, quote unquote, but mostly it's the cars are quite easy to predict. So as a result, it's a lot easier to drive them, and it means you don't really need as much practice. I would say that my biggest strength, at least in Category C, I would not say is out and out speed. It's more consistency. Now, in this season, to put it into context, it's 10 races, or 10 rounds, sorry, with 3 races each. So that's 30 races. I have only finished outside the top 5 twice. And I believe the first one was the first race of the season, Silverstone, where I basically had a massive crash. The game minimised on us and just totally glitched out. And the next race was Malaysia. I can't remember which race it was, but Cameron went wide, came back on track and crashed me out. So I'd say that my consistency has been the biggest strength, in the sense of, obviously there are going to be races where I fail, that happens, but overall to not finish outside the top 5 is the reason why I think I won the title. It's just the sense of, yes, I wasn't winning every race, but I was just the most consistent. And also it helped that some people didn't turn up. That was a big help. Obviously, because then you've got 3 races to gain points on them every time. I would say, though, that my strongest season would probably be season 18. I think that was where I was just... I don't know what it was about season 18, but it was just the most fun for me out of all of them. I really enjoyed it. It also seemed like the cars were very close together as well. It's the same with this season, to be fair. This season's been very close. And unfortunately, the drivers that are somewhat quicker than me at some tracks weren't consistent enough in turning up. So it's very much 6 and 2 3s. I mean, for me, I've won 6 championships in this league, and that's 4 in this championship you're watching. The Open Wheel, Formula C1 of Season 8, and Pacer Division 2, which, I think to take 6 titles from your own league is nothing to be ashamed of. It's going to be hard giving this up, and I think it's going to hit us in small ways. Sort of just turning up on a Thursday and expecting to league race, and then it's gone. And I think for a lot of people, I think if you've come in from Battlefield 1 and I obviously know that the view counts are way down, right? I couldn't give a shit about that. I never have. I've never cared. I just do this because I enjoy it. It's hard to basically explain what this has meant to me over the years and how much time and energy and organising I've put into it. And to win the championship in Season 7 was basically like the one goal that I always wanted. I just wanted to win a title in my own league and be done with it. I didn't expect to win 3 more. In this championship, at least. I didn't expect to win Formula C at Season 8. I didn't expect to win Pacer Season 2. Not one bit. So, it is going to hit me in small ways. It's going to hit me in small ways. And I've recently just uninstalled Grid Autosport, and I think after 10 years, the Grid series is done. And I mean that in general, not just this league. Grid 2019 was an absolute shit show. Grid Legends was crap, to say the least. I think Grid is now, it's dead in the water. I don't see how they can actually bring it back. I think it's it's had its time, and I think it's died off spectacularly as well. I think Grid Legends only had 300 players at launch. Like, that's pretty damn bad for a game that costs like in the millions. Because they put a lot of time into Grid Legends, and it just went tits up. But either way, I mean, these last races, I just tried to enjoy myself. I didn't really practice. I haven't really practiced at all in most of the races. I kind of just turn up for the 5-lap time attack and then do qualifying after. So I just do 5 laps to get my bearings. And again, that's not to like show off and say, look how amazing I am, I win, because I don't. You know, I haven't won that many races this season. I mean, I think I've only won, 7 races out of 30, which is nothing, really. You know, I've mostly been getting seconds and thirds. A couple of fastest laps here and there, but it's never really been about that. It's always been about consistency and just keeping certain people at bay if I can defend, or at least minimising the damage if there is any. So, yeah, it's going to be very strange giving this up. And as you can see in the background now, I'm basically scrapping with Duska. And Duska is honestly one of these people, I think, who would have become a champion if he actually attended more. I genuinely mean that. He's a very fast lad. The same goes for the likes of Mad Dog. I mean, Mad Dog, he quit the league, I mean, halfway through, I think, because there was too many crashes. And to be fair to him, there was a lot of crashing going on at the beginning. I think it's mainly when you get a lot of people who don't know each other too well. They don't understand where they're going to brake, where they're going to turn in, and as a result, there's a lot more impacts. There's been the occasional time I've had it, and I always try and be as clean as possible. I mean, as you can see, I'm trying to go side by side, and I took him out earlier, mainly because I had Zavak to my left, but he got a corner cut penalty because he was pushed off. So I made sure to give him the position back, because it doesn't feel fair to win a position, or race for that matter, just because of the fact that I've pushed him off. I would rather win on legit pace or legit good defending or something, not just because the game shit on him because of circumstance. But as you can probably tell, there is a lot of mistakes in here as well, and that's because I don't really get on well with Algarve. It doesn't suit my driving style. I find it very... Well, it's also that it doesn't suit the Focus too well either. It's kind of... The Algarve, to make sense to these cars, it's very much medium speed, slow speed in some, and the Focus doesn't like that. The Focus is a very heavy car, so it bogs down a lot more. The Civic was exactly the same, because the 4 cars in Category C, you've basically got the BMW E30, which is rear-wheel drive, so that gets a fantastic launch, but it's actually got shorter gears, so as a result it gets very good acceleration. Then you've got the Cruise, which is what I used for a long time. I won Season 7 and 16 with that. The Cruise basically has the best overall handling. I'd say its steering is just the most reliable, the most consistent. It's also very light, so it gets a better start than the Focuses and the Civics. The Focus is mostly meant for sort of mid-corner mechanical grip. Sorry, high-speed mechanical grip, more like, sorry. Again, its heaviness affects its acceleration, so I've usually got to run slightly shorter gears just to get it out of the corners without it bogging down. The Civic, on the other hand, is a totally different kettle of fish. I actually find it one of the biggest pains in the arses of the front wheel drive cars to drive. It's heavier than the Focus ever, albeit very slightly, but it has much higher gear ratios. Its steering is also very heavy as well, which really affects its turning. So when the Civic's going through a corner, it grips up a lot more, again because of the weight advantage. So the Civic actually works at mid-corner, so a medium speed, whereas the Focus suits more high speed, if that makes sense. It's ever so slight, these advantages, but they make a difference to your driving style. And to put it into context, I mean, when I really started taking this game seriously and league racing properly, the Honda Civic, I won one race with it in Season 3, and I wasn't on the podium at all again after that season. It was incredibly inconsistent with my driving style. I got a podium in season 4, then I swapped over to the cruise, and basically that's when I started winning races on the, well, more consistently, let's say. I wouldn't say I was a title challenger until around season 6. But season 4 and 5 were sort of an interim year where I got up to speed with the car. Season 6, I ended up losing the title by 3 points, and season 7, I would come along and win the title. And then season 8 and 9, I finished runner-up. Season 10, I drove the BMW just to try it, and I fucking hated it. I caused a massive accident at Spa. It was totally on me, nobody else's fault. I couldn't get used to the car's rear-wheel drive. It made it very sort of rear-happy, tank slappy, and the car and me just didn't gel. And then I swapped over to the cruise again and started scoring podiums and being back more consistent. Season 11 I finished 3rd, and then was swapped over to Touring Legends for season 12, which was a mistake because those cars were pretty crap, to be honest. The Audi A4 was garbage. Season 13 was swapped over to Category B, which was a massive mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And then season 14 we went back for basically a really, really, really long Category C season. I think we did 15 rounds in total, longest that we've ever done. And I finished 3rd in that, which I was pretty happy with, considering, again, Category C, touring. And season 15 was a short season. I think we only did 10 rounds with the Wait for Grid 2019. And then Grid Legends was meant to come out when we did season 17, and unfortunately after that, that was it. The league went kind of on hold for about 2-3 years. Decided to myself, well, let's do season 18, let's see what we can get. And a few people, like Camarog, they came back later on, but for the most part, Mad Dog, he didn't participate since season 7, he came back. There was a few. There was also new drivers like Quilla, Nozem, Riadi, Duska, obviously, Zone and Colin. And I'd say season 18 was one of the best, personally, for me. And then season 19 we jumped into Street GT, which was a shit show. I think only about 3 people liked those cars. And season 20 we jumped into what the hell are they called again? I think it's Super Modified or something. Again, that didn't really go down well either. I think people just enjoyed Category C because it was easy and chill. And then we decided to do season 21 to finish it off. And it's very strange, really. I think we probably could do a season 22. I think if people were genuinely interested, but I think for the most part, a lot of drivers are just, they're ready to give up. They're ready, they've done it for 10 years. They just want to chill and play the odd race here and there. They don't want to turn up and sweat so much. But either way, I was going to do like a whole commentary and just run through the entire race, but honestly, I don't see the point. I think it's time for this to end now. 11 years. And it's went through numerous different names as well. It was Nebula till around season 15. Then it jumped to AMG Racing Leagues for season 16 to 17, and then it jumped to basically just the Grid League for season 18 to 21, because obviously I'd left AMG. Like I say, it's going to be very strange to give this up. Very strange to move on and not do this anymore. But I think it's best to. I think just because it's time to do something new. And league racing for me has taken such a back burner. It's no longer something that I really ache to do anymore. Where I must practice and I must do well and I must win. It's that kind of feeling left when I kind of finished season 14. That this need to do it. I was more focused on work, doing other things, and I am going to find it very strange. And I don't think league racing will ever come back to any extent. Like, I've got no interest in the F1 games. they've turned into a pile of shit. You know, and sim racing, it was never really for me because I'm on a controller and you really need a wheel for doing that. So yeah, it is going to be very strange, and I don't see Grid Autosport coming back either. Like maybe in 3 years, I think, oh, I'll do a season 22. No, I think what's going to happen is it's done. It's done. You know, it's over, and I've achieved all I ever really wanted to, more than I ever wanted to. Really, I was only ever I was content with just one championship, to be frank. But yeah, it is going to be very strange to give it up, to never do it again. But I'm now focused on real life racing, getting myself warmed up for that. I'm currently signed up to the British Indoor Karting Championship. I've got to qualify for it, but I will get there eventually, or at least find out how slow I am to know where I've got to improve. So yeah, it's like I say, it's going to be very strange giving this up, but it's time to move on to something new. So, after 410 starts in this championship, 5 pole positions, 47 victories, 100 podiums, 28 fastest laps, 4,322 points, and the season 7, 16, 18 and 21 championships, my days as a league racer is over. This league is over. I thank everybody who was taking part, whether or not it was just a one-time thing back like in F1 2013, to people who have participated in the leagues about as long as I have. It has been a genuine pleasure. I've loved every minute of it, and I wish you luck on all your future endeavours. Good luck and goodbye.